So hello everybody, today we're going to be doing the predictions for the month of April of 2022, and now for the past 41 days we have been conducting a Shanti Yagya, fire sacrifice, here in the ashram, Madhuri Kunj, where I live, and there's a community. We are intending to do 108 Yagyas, praying for peace and love in the world to Lord Shiva. So during this cycle, at the end of it, I've been asked to make the predictions for the month of April. So what are the predictions? Well, everything is going to change in the month of April because all the grahas are changing. So all the major planets are going to be changing. The slow-moving planets are number one, Saturn. So Saturn now, for more than 2.5 years, almost 3 years, has been going in Capricorn. So it's been back and forth in retrograde motion in Capricorn. And before that it was in Sagittarius, and also a very perilous position because it visited the Mula Nakshatra, which is the Nakshatra of endings and death. So we've been having a very terrible cycle of restriction. But that cycle comes to an end this month, so that's always something positive. Saturn goes into Aquarius during this month. Also, we were going to be visiting the transit of Jupiter, which moves every 12 years into the same sign. So it takes about 1 year for Jupiter to be in each sign. Now for the past 2 years, it's been in the unfriendly signs of Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn don't get along. So Jupiter has been in Capricorn and then visited Aquarius. And now finally Jupiter is going back to its own sign of Pisces, which is something very positive for the world. So we're going to have a wave of positivity. It starts this month. Planets Rahu and K2, which take a year and a half to move in every sign, are going to be moving from Taurus into Aries. So that also happens in this month. Planet Mercury goes in Gandanta and is going to be exiting Gandanta during this month. And also planet Mars is going to be changing signs during this month. Actually, it's already done. By the time you see this, it was yesterday when planet Mars changed signs. So Mars has gone to Aquarius now. So what does this mean? Well, we'll start with Saturn, which is the most relevant. The motion of Saturn means restriction. So in any area of the zodiac where Saturn is present, there will be a lot of force of restriction. So for the past 2.5 years, what you will have noticed is that there was a lot of governmental restriction because Capricorn means government. It means the structures that we set up to have success in society. So Saturn being there, it's actually its own sign. It's a sign of Earth. So we were in a cycle where we had to be very down to earth, down to basics. And there was a lot of restriction. It's not a bad thing that Saturn was in Capricorn. It's actually its own sign. But during this time, what happened is, for example, the past month, we had the conjunction of Mars and Saturn. Every time that happens, there's some kind of armed conflict going on. So like the last time it happened, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. So when Mars went into Capricorn, the conjunction was at the exact point of exaltation of Mars. And Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So it was a especially strong combination. So that gave us, the past events of war that we have gone through. I think when Saturn moves into Aquarius, we will see more of a tendency for technology, for healing technologies. So I think that the world is going to jump into healing more with sound vibrations and energy and light energy. So I think the quantum computer is going to become a thing. AI is going to become a thing with, that is going to be very helpful. For those of you who are afraid of AI, don't be afraid of AI. AI is limited to a very physical dimension. It cannot tap into higher spiritual dimensions. It's not possible for it. So don't be afraid of it. There's always going to be a higher intercession and a higher guidance. But definitely we're going to have the presence of AI and cryptocurrency. So the way that we're going to be doing transactions is going to be more virtual. Virtual reality is also going to be coming strong. Remember, it's a 2.5 year cycle. So until July of this year, Saturn is going to be in Aquarius, and then it's going to go retrograde into Capricorn. So around July, we're going to revisit this scenario between the political shift that is going on. Until then, The world is going to be in a cycle of expansion, diplomacy, speaking about how we're going to go about arranging humanity. So it's going to be a very humanitarian period on the side of Saturn. Then the next thing is Jupiter goes into Pisces this month. That is actually super wonderful, because Jupiter is coming to liberate in Pisces. It liberates us from pain. So there's a lot of hope for the world. There's a lot about spirituality for the world. So we're going to have a cycle where it's going to be like, you know, the 1968, where the hippie movement was full on. I think the world is going to have a summer like that, where there's going to be a lot of celebrations of peace and joy. I think the world is going to open up for celebrations that are intercultural, interreligious, interspiritual. There's a lot of positivity coming up there. So there's a period of grace while Jupiter will be in Pisces. It's in its own sign. So that coupled together with the fact that Saturn is going to be harmonic gives you know, a doorway for a pretty good year, I would say. It's going to be a complex year, but it's a pretty good year. Now, Rahu and K2 move. What does that mean? At the moment, and this is why the world has come to a standstill, we're experiencing KALASARPA yoga. So KALASARPA basically means that all the planets get trapped in the nodes of the moon. So it's almost like we have to deal with our unconscious. So whatever is in the closet, we got to go in the closet and clean it, because otherwise the closet will implode. So the axis where Rahu and K2 are at right now is Rahu is in Taurus and K2 is in Scorpio. So that just means a lot of subconscious backlash. You know, when it comes to emotions and bitterness and resentment that has been kept there from past lives, or even from this life. So there's a lot of aggression that has become passive aggressive within. And then Rahu in Taurus gives us an obsession for land and property. So in a way, you know, that obsession of acquiring land, property in order to feel safe has manifested in the acquisition of another country, for example. But in our individual level, we're all going through it. So all the planets get trapped. The Vedas say it's like a snake has coiled around the body, and you know, the body cannot move. So now for about a month and a half, we've been feeling like that. Actually, the KALASARPA lasted 4 months. The good news is there's like this month that breaks. So finally, we're going to feel like again we have free will, and again we can decide and choose. Now, Rahu is going into Aries, and K2 is going to be in Libra. So the talks are going to be about democracy and independence of countries, what it means to be part of a union, and what we compromise with a union, and perhaps letting go of that and being independent. You know, basically that's what we're going to see in the shift of world power. So the obsession is going to be towards fighting for independence and freedom, rather than for, you know, being controlled under outdated systems. But for that, a lot of dialogue has to be there. So expect a lot of balancing energy and a lot of dialogue. It's almost going to be like in the spirit of the world to get together in the round table and speak about democracy and you know, what that means, and equality, and what that means, and how to sustain it, and how to create an order that is good for everybody, so that we can you know, bypass you know, people that transgress the right of others, even in their own life, etc. So we're going to be seeing a lot of that in the next cycle, but it's going to be positive because of the mercy and grace of Jupiter. Then the parties in Pisces. The party last month was in Aquarius, and this month the party is going to be in Pisces. So the Sun's going to be in Pisces, Mercury is going to be in Pisces, and Jupiter is going to be in Pisces. So there's a lot of Pisces energy. So that is the energy of healing and love. So do expect that the world gets together to rebuild a country. We're going to see that. And do expect that massive, you know, meditation sessions in public places, prayer sessions in public places will be conducted. Even ourselves, we are conducting now 108 days of prayer very intensely by the grace of our Guru. And we're all praying for the same thing, which is the possibility of peace, and the possibility to have a white canvas once more, and that we can realize that, you know, I think technology and power should be to serve and to make our life better. Otherwise, technology can become very destructive. We should have an intention behind it. And the intention is simply to create peace, abundance, balance, prosperity. That is dharmic. So I think the world is entering a phase that it's an end of a cycle, because Jupiter is going to end a large cycle of wisdom in Pisces. So that's a large cycle of 12 years of wisdom. And also Saturn is about to end a very large cycle of wisdom. It's going to happen 2023, 2024. So when those cycles of wisdom are completed, humanity is going to enter into a new revolution of a cycle, which basically is, I think we're going to have to realize that it is not by having more, but by having enough, that we're going to attain happiness in this world. So for those of you that have been very worried and suffering over the past month, please know that that's going to be over. It's going to come to a standstill somehow. We will come back to it around July. But the energy at that time in the world is going to be much, much more positive and much, much less challenging than the past years that we have lived. So remember that during these times you were shown how strong, how tolerant, how regulated, how determined you can be. And if you manage to do it well during this time, well, imagine when the good times come. So you always have to celebrate the fact that maybe by austerity and by challenge, maybe a part of you that you didn't know came out. So with these thoughts, with a good will and with a warm heart, I wish you a good month. And from Madhuri Kunj and everybody here, we are praying that peace and love may come to your heart, peace and love may come to the earth. If you want more peace in your life, you can simply chant the mantra Om Namo Sadha Shivaya. And for love, you may chant the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I wish you well and have a wonderful month. Goodbye.